Welcome to my channel, The Golden Stitch. My name is Alejandra and I'm a Mexican living in Scotland. And this is episode number 2 of my knitting podcast. Hi, I hope you're having a lovely day. Today I'm here with my dog Icy. I don't know how long she's staying, but we're here with you today sharing a knitting podcast. I originally planned this video to be a travel vlog, to be honest, of a little road trip that I did to Bath, which is this beautiful city/town in England with gorgeous Georgian architecture. Actually, Jane Austen used to live there, if you're a reader and you're a fan of romance. And also a lot of filming for Bridgerton was done there, which, by the way, at the time I'm filming this, which is the end of February, the last season, I think it was the fourth season of Bridgerton just came out, and I've been watching it. I wanted to do the Bridgerton tour in Bath. They have like a tour where they take you to the filming locations, but I just didn't have time. It was a very express trip, so I didn't have time to do much. And all the filming I did, honestly, wasn't that great. I mean, I'm still new at filming. I've never done a vlog before, and I tried to film during my trip, but I ended up realizing that I was never talking to the camera, and I was like, this is gonna be such a boring video. So I decided to just do a regular knitting podcast instead. But if you're interested, at the end of this episode, I'm gonna put some of the clips I recorded of the beautiful city of Bath. So in case you're new here, my name is Alejandra. I'm a Mexican living in Scotland, and in this channel, I am documenting my first year as a knitter. I usually share podcast videos, pattern roundups of what I find inspirational, my knitting plans, and if that's something that sounds interesting to you, I invite you to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out. So as I mentioned today, it's gonna be just a regular knitting podcast following the usual format. First, I'm gonna talk about my finished objects, then about my whips, and then finally some acquisitions. And if you stay until the end, you may also see some footage of my trip to Bath. So starting with what I'm wearing today, I am not wearing any knitwear except from my scarf, which is the Elise scarf by Susanne Mueller, which was featured in my first podcast. So if you want to hear more, I invite you to check out my video. So moving on to my finished objects. I have finished 5 objects. It's been so cold and rainy today that I haven't been going outside that much, or I've been having loads of time to knit even when I'm in the car with my husband, because thankfully he is the one who does all the driving, and I am very grateful for it because I get extra knitting time. I work from home and I don't do any commute, but I get lots of time after work to do knitting, or even like at lunchtime, or when I'm sitting in meetings that I don't need to do a lot of talking and I just have to listen. I always pull out my knitting and do some of that. So I got lots done during the month of January and February. Well, loads for being a beginner. I mostly finish accessories, but I also finished my first sweater, which I mentioned in several videos before. If you haven't watched them, you can go ahead and check it out. I actually have a full vlog, project vlog of the sweater. So if you want to hear about the struggles I encounter and everything, all the details, you can go and check it out. But I'm gonna try to summarize it here and also mention things that I didn't mention in the previous videos. So this is the Stripe Hype Sweater by Veronica Lindberg, or Kutowa Kika. And I knitted the size medium. I originally cast it on the size large, but I found it was too big. and I decided to go on the medium size. My swatch said that I was pretty much on gauge, but I realized after starting the sweater that I was slightly off gauge. It was turning out a little bit larger than I expected. And I've been reading about Peer Gynt, which was the yarn I used for this project. And it's meant to be a DK, but it's on the heavier side. So I believe that is the reason why I was slightly off gauge and my sweater turned out a little bit bigger. It is the size medium, but in terms of dimensions, I feel like it's more of a large size, or perhaps in between a medium and a large. So this is a drop shoulder construction. You start by knitting a rectangle, and then you pick up stitches for the shoulders, and then you continue around the neckline and the front piece, and then finally you join with the back and start on the round. And then you pick up stitches for the sleeves, and then you do the finishing, you do the decreases for the tapered sleeve, and then the cuffs, the hem, and the neck are done in half twisted rib. So I have no comments about the pattern. It was very easy to follow. I really enjoyed it. I really like Kutobakika's writing style. I think it's very beginner friendly. It was a great project to do as my first project. Perhaps just a couple of notes that I learned during the process. So this pattern asks for the backwards loop cast on. It's meant to be because I believe she mentions in some of her videos that it is easier to pick up stitches for the collar when you do that cast on. But I found it is not my favorite because first of all, I think the pickup stitches look very noticeable, the ones you skip, depending on the ratio you use. Perhaps this is just a me problem, that I still don't know how to pick up stitches in a better way that is not that noticeable. But I can clearly see the stitches I didn't pick up, and it kind of annoys me a little bit to look at it. But honestly, for my first project, it was good. I think it turned out very well, and I've been wearing it a lot. I first mentioned that I found Peer Gynt to be an itchy yarn for me, especially around the neck. And I would say over the days it has softened a little. Since it's the only sweater I have ever knitted, I've been wearing it a lot, just because it makes me really proud, it makes me happy. And since it's so dark and wintry here, I find these bright colors just bring me a lot of joy. So I've been really enjoying wearing it. It's nice and warm, but it doesn't make me too sweaty, which was very surprising to me. I'm new to wearing wool, and I was so pleasantly surprised on how nice it feels. If you all have worn some wool, you will probably know what I'm talking about. It's just really good at regulating the temperature of your body, and I just can't wait to have a full wardrobe of knitwear, hand knitted knitwear. I have noticed that it does kind of peel or felt, creates these little bubbles around the sleeves, but I've been wearing it like every other day pretty much. So probably it's because of that. I mostly wear it in the house. I work from home, so I wear it all the time. But yeah, I have noticed that, but it's nothing too major. I just keep pulling the little bubbles every now and then. But I worry that it might wear out too quickly. I can report back on future videos if I find that this is wearing out too much. I have heard from other people that Peer Gynt wears very well. So I'm hoping after this first layer of peeling, or first instance of peeling, then it will just become nice and soft, and it will stop peeling. Not super nice and soft, but it will kind of settle and stop peeling so much. Let me see if I have any other notes. The stitches I picked up around the sleeves are also noticeable. I think I just have to get better at pickup stitches. I find it looks okay, but you can definitely see where the stitches that were missed. So yeah, I think I just have to experiment a little bit more my technique for picking up stitches. Other than that, I don't have any other notes. I recommend this pattern. I think it's very well written. I enjoy Kutova-Kika's style of writing patterns. I think it's very beginner friendly, and I will definitely recommend it. I don't think I will knit it again unless, I mentioned this on my project vlog, unless I start collecting the yarn more organically, maybe perhaps some beautiful hand-dyed yarns that I collect over time, then that is the only way, because I had a ton of leftover yarn in weird quantities, and I didn't like that about the use, I guess, the distribution of the colors. Even though I like the end sweater, I love how it looks. I love how it's like three stripes of each color. I like the ratios, but it's just the quantities that it uses is a weird odd quantity. So I ended up with a lot of leftovers, and now I have to find a project to use them, which I wasn't a super fan of. And it also meant that the total cost of the project, it increased the total cost of the project because I ended up using quite a few skeins, and it came to a total of 72 pounds on just the yarn, plus 4.54 on the pattern, which was on sale at the time I bought it. So for a great total of 76.54 pounds. I mean, I chose Peer Gynt because it was slightly cheaper than the suggested yarn, which was, I think, Sunday Double. And I think it would have been way more expensive. It would have ended up being more than 100 pounds if I had used Double Sunday. But I also know it would have been probably softer. So I don't know, it's like give or take. There has some pros and some cons. I will definitely use Peer Gynt again, but as I said, I will keep in mind for projects that don't require too close to the neck, which is an area that I found is sensitive for myself. So this was one of the patterns which was featured on my goals for 2026. If you haven't seen it, I did a little bingo card with my knitting goals for this year, and this was one of the goals. It was one of the squares, so I'm gonna tick that off of my list, and I'll keep you posted about how am I doing on my knitting bingo. So I will pop up an image there for you to see how my progress is going through the year. So this was my first pattern. And then moving on to another pattern which was also featured on my bingo card is this cute little baby booties. Aren't they adorable? Oh, this was such a quick, satisfying project that I was so happy once I finished them. These are crochet, not done with knitting. It's a crochet pattern, and it is the Puff Bee Stitch Cuff Booties by Twisted by the Sea. And I used some stash yarn that I had from my years of crochet. I used to have a subscription box from Crochet Society, and I have a ton of leftover yarn from those years. This is just an acrylic DK, confection DK, I believe it's called, from one of those boxes, and it's super soft. I think it's good for baby knits because they can wash it without having to worry about felting or shrinking. So I am pretty happy with the result. They're adorable, they're so cute, and it took me I think I needed these in between meetings. I crocheted one booty in between meetings, and then another one during one evening. So it was super quick, super satisfying. I will probably be doing more. This is for a friend who just had a baby. I really need to send this across because she lives in Canada. And if I don't send them soon, they're not gonna feed the baby anymore. I have other friends who are having babies, so I'm not too worried. I can always need a size bigger for her baby, and then send these to my other friend who's having a baby in April. So definitely super cute, love them. And another pattern tick off my bingo card. And the pattern for these was $2.49, and since I use starch yarn, that is the only cost I'm considering for this knit. So yeah. And then next was also another gift knit that I don't have with me, but they were the Claudia Gloves by Easy Billings. And I love that pattern. It is very simple. It was also a super quick knit. These were done for my mother-in-law, whose birthday was at the beginning of February. So I decided to knit some fingerless gloves for her, and she loved them. I used Knitting for Olive Merino and Dusty Violet held together with Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair and Unicorn Purple. This I had in stash. I was planning to use it for some sweater. I still have enough to make those. I only used like half skein of each, the merino and the mohair, and they turned out beautiful. I just wanted to keep them, but they were for my mother-in-law, and I was really happy to give that to her because she was so happy, and it made me even happier to know that she enjoyed it. She also knits, so she really truly appreciates the effort that goes into hand knitted items, and I think she will wear it non-stop. For this pattern, it was £4, and the total cost of the yarn plus the pattern was $14.75. I had a really good experience with the pattern. It was very well written. I will definitely recommend it. I will do it again. In fact, I already did, but I'm planning to knit probably in other colors because I really find the fit really comfortable, and I really like the look with the also half twisted rib. I'm still working on my ribbing. It doesn't look great anymore, and I find that twisted rib looks more neat and professional since I'm still struggling with my regular rib. So I was really happy to do this pattern that uses half twisted rib and make my project look more professional. Anything else about the pattern? Just something on Easy Billings. She also has a YouTube channel. You probably have seen her. And she has the most beautiful taste, I find. She chooses colors. She has a really, really good eye for color. I really admire her aesthetic. It is something I would like to aspire to, but I also know myself that I also like really bright, bold colors. So even though I like everything in my life to be that beautiful and aesthetically uniform and pleasing, I know myself that I always gravitate towards color and bright things to bring me joy in life. So that is something I admire from afar. But I truly think that she has a beautiful taste, and I love her Instagram page. I always watch her videos. So if you haven't seen any of her videos, I highly recommend you check her out. I think that's pretty much it from this pattern. I mean, I will mention the other pair I knitted for myself later. But my next pattern was the BrushedLoop hat by Other Loops. I mean brushed because I was meant to brush this, and I haven't done it because I'm really scared of messing up the hat. I'm really scared of messing it up. I don't really own Mohair brush, so I'm scared of brushing it with, I have like dog brushes that I could use. I've seen other people using dog brushes, but I'm just really scared of messing it up. If I find myself brave enough to do it, I will try to brush it because I think it will make it look nicer. So this is done by holding 2 strands of mohair with a strand of finger merino, which makes that extra fluffy. And I found this hat to take forever. I mean, I did enjoy the process, but it took way longer than I was expecting. So this is, if you've ever done the Oslo hat by Petite Knit, I haven't done the Oslo hat, but I've done the Christmas edition, and it also features that double brim, which you do by casting on the stitches and then knitting a large brim that then you fold in half, and then you continue knitting the rest of the hat. So the only difference is, like, for this one you use the temporary cast on? I can't remember. Is it the provisional cast on that you do with a crochet hook? And then, so to put the stitches kind of on hold, and then you knit forever. It felt like forever. So double this amount, and then you join both pieces together, and then you continue in the round, and then you do the decreases. So yeah, it took way longer than I was expecting, but I think it's worth it because I really like the look. I look this thick brim, and it's super warm, which is exactly what I was looking for. It's cold here in Scotland, so I was looking for a really, really, I'm gonna try to put it on, really nice and warm hat, which this definitely satisfied. So I love this hat. I think it is really nice and warm, and I definitely recommend casting on one of these ones. Just be prepared to knit forever in stockinette. If that's the kind of pattern you enjoy, then you'll love this. Yeah. So for the yarn, I use Søstrene Grene. Excuse me if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. It's Danish, and I don't know how to pronounce Danish, but Søstrene Grene is this Danish shop that we have here in the UK. I believe some places in Europe also have it. And it's similar to, if you've ever seen the Flying Tiger, or like if you've ever been to IKEA, it's a similar concept where you go around kind of like a labyrinth, like a maze, and it feels amazing. Like, I love these shops, and especially Søstrene Grene, because it has a ton of craft materials, like it has a lot of painting materials if you're into that, or drawing. It's a huge section of stationery. I can spend a whole day in that shop, and I love it. And they also have a nice selection of yarn. Unfortunately, they only have for like superwash merino. I was looking for any non-superwash wools because I tend to prefer that. I found myself recently just like, I can really feel and touch when the yarn has a little bit of synthetic or some nylon in it. I find it's a little bit too plasticky, and I don't enjoy that feeling. Some of the superwash merinos I've tried, like the one I use for my Sophie scarf, are quite nice and soft. I don't feel that plasticky sensation. But for this one, especially for the mohair, instead of having silk, the core is nylon. So it does feel kind of like plasticky, like rubbery. I don't know how to describe that feeling. And I didn't particularly enjoy it. So I don't think I will be buying it again. But it was nice to try it, to see, because it's an affordable option. And I was like, maybe if I like these, then it's a good option for me, because I have a couple of Søstrene Grenes that are not too far from my place, and it could have been an option for me to buy, but I don't think I will be going back to that mohair. The merino was nice. I would say, like the superwash merino, I will probably buy it if I don't have anything else in hand. But yeah, nothing to rave about. It's okay. The hat is comfortable. I'm not that sensitive to mohair, so I always find with any hat I wear, my forehead gets itchy after a while wearing it, and that happened with this as well, but it's not particular to this hat. Like, it happens to me with every hat I wear, so I don't find it annoying. It won't stop me from using it. I really like the end product, the end project. And this was a total of 32.77 pounds, including the pattern, which was 40 crowns. I believe the other loops is also Danish, or I don't know, somewhere in Scandinavia. And the pattern is 40 crowns, with I converted to pounds, and it's 4.69, and then the yarn was 28 pounds. So yeah, a total of 32.77. So it is expensive for a hat, and then if you buy even nicer yarn, it will be expensive as well. But I find, I mean, I'm a beginner knitter, so everything sounds expensive to me. Maybe I just have to get used to the prices. Also because I tend to prefer to use natural fibers, which are more expensive. In my years of crochet, I used to do more acrylics, so maybe that's why I keep comparing it to acrylic. But I don't tend to gravitate towards acrylic anymore. I really prefer the feeling of natural fibers. So I think it's worth it. And I mean, this is my hobby, and thankfully for now I can afford it. So I will continue doing it. And then I had a little bit of the leftover yarn from this, which is what I used for my second pair of Claudia Gloves. But I didn't have enough to do the full pattern, which originally should have a longer cuff and a longer ribbon here for the top of the fingers. But I still find these were very useful in my trip to Bath. I use them. I still use them here as well. They're a little bit less warm than what the original pattern will be, because they will be a little bit longer here and longer, just cover more of the hand. So I want to knit myself another pair of gloves in a different color, following the pattern as it is called. So, but I love these. I would 100% recommend this pattern. I cannot say enough good things about it, and I will use it again, I'm sure. It is also great for using scraps of yarn like myself. I just make sure I had enough. I kept weighing the yarn I was using to make sure I didn't run out. And I see myself doing many more of these as gift knits, or for myself, have it in different colors. I love it. And then finally, the last finished object is another hat. This one is for my husband. His birthday is coming up and he's going to a ski trip. So I thought this would be the perfect gift to keep him warm during his trip, and then also as a gift for his birthday. This is the 2x2 hat by Anne Gagnon. And I did this using Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino. I used 1.5 skeins of this dark cognac color, which is gorgeous. I really like this color. It is a simple 2x2 ribbon, and it's just a very simple pattern. I mean, it's free, so that was great. And then I really like the way the increases look. I really like how it looks on the crown, this little star that it forms. I think it's really cool, so that's why I chose this pattern. And I think this one looks very unisex, so I knew my husband will enjoy wearing it. Well, that's what I hope. And then I came across these embroidery details on my Instagram, which are beautiful little ski people or ski embroidery done on a hat. And I thought it would be a great idea to embroider one of them on the brim of the hat. I haven't done it, so it is a finished object technically, but I still want to embroider one of those little ski mans. So I'll probably choose some of the colors of my husband's snow pants and jacket to make it more personalized to him. So if I end up finishing the embroidery before this video goes live, I will attach a picture so that you can see what it looks like. But I think this hat is a great option if you're looking for a free pattern of just a simple 2x2 ribbon. I wanted to practice my ribbon because, as I mentioned in several videos before, I'm having issues where one of my stitches keeps opening too much. It doesn't look very neat. And I've been experimenting with different techniques. I find in this 2x2, it's not that noticeable. I was using the combination knitting, which was after a setup round, it was always knitting through the back loop and using wrapping the yarn the other way around. I mean, there's lots of video tutorials about it. I'm not very good at explaining, especially because I'm just a beginner. But you can check out combination knitting ribbon videos and you will see tons of examples. And I started doing that, but then I didn't realize that when you fold the brim, you're gonna see the part of the inside. And I noticed, I don't know if you can see it here, but I noticed that my ribbon was looking really good on the right side, but on the wrong side, it was again opening up. I mean, you can see it here a little bit. So what I end up doing is halfway through, I flip my stitches around, similar to what you do again in the Oslo hat or what you do for German short rows, so that I could continue knitting on the wrong side. And that way, when I fold the hat, I don't know if it makes sense, that way when I fold the hat, it will look more neat. I think it worked out. You tell me. I mean, now that it has been blocked, it's not as noticeable as it was before, but I still think it was a good idea to do the flipping the direction so that it will look more neat. And this was, I mean, the pattern was free, but for the 2 skeins of yarn I used, it was £9.50. And it was £9.50 because I bought this yarn on sale. It was 25% off when I bought it. So yeah, it was 2 skeins, so that came out to £9.50. Highly recommend this pattern. I can see myself doing it again. I still want to do different hats. I like to experiment with different patterns. So I don't know if I have immediate plans to knit this pattern again, but perhaps in the future. Now, moving on to my whips, I only have 2 works in progress. One is my Salty Day sweater by Veronica Lindberg or Kutowa Kika. I bought this pattern together with the Stripe Hype sweater in a sale she had in December. So yeah, I bought a couple of patterns, so my 2 first sweaters will be from her. And I don't have any regrets because she has a very approachable way of writing patterns. And for this one, she has a full video tutorial. So that has been really useful for me. I've been watching parts that were confusing, or they weren't even confusing. I wouldn't say confusing, but I just wanted to double check that I was making the correct assumptions or I was understanding correctly the pattern. And it has been really nice to see the video, and I've been learning so much from her that I'm grateful for her to upload videos on her patterns. So you'll see here what I'm talking about the ribbon. It's still bothering me, but I think it still looks beautiful. So I'm just gonna embrace it and accept my beginner faults. But here you can see there's several sections. In the first section, there is that 2x1 ribbon or I should say a 1x2, 1 knit, 2 purl. And then it has a section of lace followed by a little bit of cabling, and then more lace, and then more ribbon. So let's start to discuss what issues I've had so far with this pattern. So this pattern so far has taken me 45 hours, and it's a lot more than I spent on the full sweater of Stripe Hype, which took me only around 40 hours. And I'm not complaining because I'm really taking my time, I'm enjoying it, and I think it's worth it. I'm learning a lot with these because like I'm experimenting with so many different techniques. I think it's totally worth it. I am not rushing through. I've been really taking my time to learn, and I've been frogging a lot. Especially during the lace sections, I keep finding myself forgetting to do a yarn over, and then later on counting stitches, and then finding out I don't have the correct number of stitches, and then I really have to like go check the pattern, and then finding out I missed a yarn over. And usually it happens several times during these eyelid sections that are repeated several parts in the pattern. I don't know why, I just kept missing a yarn over, and it will mess up my stitch count so many times. But I still like lace. I love the way it looks, so it's not putting me off of doing more lace work. In fact, I really hope I can do the Whitmore cardigan that, if you haven't watched it, it was featured on my 15 cardigan patterns that are beginner friendly, which was my previous video posted, and it's still one of my top patterns to cast on next. It's probably gonna be the first cardigan I knit. So it's not putting me off doing any more lace work. I'm really excited to do more lace work, but I just hope I can get into the habit of looking at I'm like reading my knitting, if that makes sense, and making sure I don't miss the yarn overs. As for the cable section, it was very simple cable section, and I really, really enjoyed it. It just makes me want to knit more cable sweaters. I think it looks so pretty, and it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, and I enjoyed it. I think it was my favorite part to knit, and then when I was over, I was like, oh, is it over already? I want to do more cables. So I'm also really looking forward to knitting more cables in the future. The yarn I'm using is also Heavy Merino by Knitting for Olive. I bought it in the same sale as I bought the one I used for my husband's hat, and it's the color Rust. I love this color. I saw one of the featured patterns on Ravelry was knitted with this color, and I fell in love with that version. And I love kind of autumny, moody, rusty colors, and this was just perfect for that. I am almost done with the body. I'm actually halfway through my Italian bind off. I shouldn't have stopped there, but I was on a phone call with my mom, and then my yarn broke, so I had to fix that. And then after, I took my dog for a walk, and then I started recording this video, so I didn't have time to finish the bind off. I really hope I can get back to it without messing it up. But I am pretty much done with the body. I still have to do the neck and then pick up stitches for the sleeves. But I have a trip coming up tomorrow, so I don't think I will be finishing this. I definitely won't be finishing these before the trip, and I don't want to take these on my trip because it's not a very portable project. So I think is after I finish the bind off, and maybe if I have time this evening to do the neck band, I will put it on hold until after my trip so I can finish the sleeves. But yeah, I highly recommend this pattern for a beginner. I think it is very well written, even though I had to frog a couple of times. It's 100% been my mistakes and not the pattern's mistake. There's a full video tutorial, as I mentioned, which can help you guide through every single step of the way. And I love it. I love most of the versions, or all the versions I've seen on Ravelry. And I have heard other people knitting this and loving the process. It's just such a potato chippy project, because you finish one section and you really want to get into the next one, and you want to know what it looks like, and it's experimenting with different techniques and textures. So 100% recommend. I love it, and I can't wait to have it in my wardrobe so I can finally wear it. And then my second project is a pair of socks. It is the I'm So Basic Socks by Summer Lee. This is also a pattern that comes with a full video tutorial. Oh no, I dropped my stitches. Oh well, that's a future me problem. I am using this beautiful variegated yarn that I bought in in a yarn festival I went last year. It was meant to be more of a Christmassy colorway with like reds and greens, but I didn't have time to cast it on around Christmas time, and I really wanted to start a pair of socks to learn more techniques. So I ended up casting it on even if it's on Christmassy colors. I think I can have them ready for next Christmas, or I can just wear them in any other time. This is just a standard sock yarn, which is 75% merino and 25% nylon. It's super wash, so it will be good for socks, because you can just chuck them in the washing machine, of course with the delicate and wool settings. But I love the feeling. This doesn't feel plasticky, as I mentioned before with the Sostrene Grene yarn that I used, that I felt really plasticky. I don't really feel this with this one, so I really love the feeling. I like the way it's looking. It's really fun. And the pattern is free. It's one of the most popular sock patterns. Since this is the first time I'm knitting socks, I thought it would be a good way to start, since it has a full video tutorial. And then I'm also using some yarn that I had in stash for the contrasting colors for the cuff, and I will be using it for the heel and the toes. My only concern is that this yarn has some alpaca, and I don't know how it's gonna wear. So I'm concerned about that. It's not a sock yarn, so we'll see, but I like the way it looks. Sorry, that's my dog. I like the way it looks, and that's the one I had in stash. I didn't want to spend money buying something just for the contrasting color. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna carry on. If this ends up being wearing out too fast, then that's a problem for my future self. I hope I don't regret it. But so far, I mean, I have just done the ribbing part and a little bit of the leg, so no problems. It's just plain stockinette and 2x1 ribbon. So yeah, highly recommend. It's a free pattern, so it's a good place to start for socks. And that's it for my whips. So finally we can move on to acquisitions. So let's start with this little project bag that I bought, also in Sostrene Grene. I really like the size of it. I thought it was super practical. It has lots of pockets inside, well, here outside, and then inside it has quite a few pockets as well. So I thought it would be a perfect little project bag to keep on the go. This was only like 8 pounds, something like that. So yeah, I'm actually already packed some yarn, which is also a new acquisition, and I will take these on my trip, hoping that this will be my little travel project. So it is perfect, the perfect little size. So for the yarn I bought is some silk mohair by Isager, and the color 27, which is this little baby pink. I don't tend to buy pastel colors, but I wanted to try something different for the spring. I was feeling in the spring mood, and I wanted to get something in a little pastel color. So I thought this will be perfect. And also because the pattern that I'm planning to cast on is the Frederick sweater. I have here on my notes. The Frederick sweater by Johanna Gerish. I'm sorry, it's probably not the way you pronounce it. I am really sorry. Gerish? Gerish? I'll pop the name on the screen. I'm really sorry. I don't know what the origin name is from, and I don't know how to pronounce it. But it's this beautiful mohair lace. Well, it's not lace, it's done in plain stockinette, but because it's done in such a loose gauge, it looks kind of lacy and see-through. And I've been looking for a pattern like that. It has balloon sleeves, which I love. I love balloon sleeves. And it's just, I think, the perfect spring pattern. And because it's so light, I thought it would be the perfect pattern to do on the go. And it's only meant to use 5 skeins. I'm planning to cast on the size large, so it's only using 5 skeins. So I thought this would be a good pattern to have on the go. I hope I don't regret it. I've done my gauge swatch, and I really like the way it looks. I don't know if it will look good on me, because I think I don't really suit pastel-y colors, but we'll see. I like to experiment with color, even if it doesn't suit me. I just love playing with it. And it's so soft. All the rumors were true. I keep seeing comments of other YouTubers saying that Isager mohair is the softest, even softer than Knitting for Olive. I still have to play with it to see if I agree if it's softer than Knitting for Olive. I find Knitting for Olive really soft, but I have to do the full project and maybe wear it to see to be able to compare it. But I like the way the swatch looks, so I think it will be a nice and beautiful project. I'm really excited to have it. And then the next acquisition is some yarn I bought in Bath. I always like to look for yarn shops in the places I go visit, because I like to go check what kind of yarns they have, preferably look for any local yarn if they have, and then buy some souvenir yarn. So I bought these 3 skeins, 2 of these one and 1 of these of sock yarn. So I bought these. I mean, this is not a local yarn. This is by Knit Pro, a Symphony, and the color, well, is the yarn is called Terra, I believe, and the colorway Symphony. I believe it's the same colors as the Symphony needles if you own them. I really like the combination. It's like this really deep purpley, blue, orange colors, yellow, a little bit of yellow, browns. I really, really love the color. So I think socks in this combination will look really well, really nice. And I have the label here. The woman at the yarn shop was so kind to offer to cake it for me. I don't have a winder yet, so I gladly, happily accepted her to cake it for me. I would say it looked more beautiful on the hank than in the cake like this, but I hope it looks beautiful when knitted. So this is the label. It is Knit Pro Symphony Terra. Yeah. So I'm excited to have these for future socks. And then I also bought this other sock yarn, but I'm not planning to use it for socks. I'm planning to hold it together and do maybe a hat or a scarf with it. It is, I think, a combination of wool and mohair. Let me see the label. It is 80% wool and 20% mohair. And the brand is Erica Knight, and it is British wool. So the yarn is called Moorland Mohair, and it's this beautiful fuzzy, I mean, it's a little bit fuzzy shade of green. It's meant to be inspired by the colors of Britain, which you see a lot of green here because all the rain brings a lot of green around. So yeah, I think I will probably do a hat, maybe a cable hat, since I'm enjoying knitting cables so much. So I don't know if it will happen anytime soon, since winter is hopefully on the way out. So maybe I'll have to wait for a bit until I cast this on, or maybe if I'm ever looking for a smaller project, because I tend to love having an accessory on the side, maybe I'll cast this on for the near future. If not, then I'll wait until maybe the fall. And that's pretty much it for my knitting yarn acquisitions, but I have one more acquisition that is not yarn related. So if you're not into reading or books, this was the end of the knitting part, so thank you so much for watching. But if you are into reading, which I've seen a lot of knitting podcasts mentioning books, so I think there's a big overlap, so hopefully you'll be also interested and excited as I was for this new acquisition. And it's a book. It is a very classic book. It is Emma by Jane Austen, and I bought it during my trip to Bath. So I love reading. I love reading mostly fantasy, science fiction, and thrillers, but I also like the occasional romance. And I tend to like more classic romance novels than the modern ones. I don't know why, I just tend to do. And in the past, when I was living in Mexico, I was having all my books there, but then I've been moving quite a lot between then and now. In the past 10 years, I've been moving countries a lot and moving around. So I didn't have a lot of physical books. I always kept everything on my Kindle because that was easier to move when I was moving countries and when I was moving around. So for the longest time, I make my mission to not acquire too many books because it just made the moving really, really difficult. But now that I'm here in Scotland, I got married last year and we have a house and I'm not planning to move anytime soon. I thought it would be a good idea to start a new collection of books. And when I was in Bath, I just couldn't resist myself to this beautiful edition of Emma, which has the most gorgeous embossing of flowers. It is the Chiltern edition, and it also has this gold detail on the pages, and I just think it's a gorgeous, gorgeous book. And I've never read Emma before. I've read Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensitivity, but I'd never read Emma before, and it was always on my reading list. So when I saw it, I thought it was a perfect opportunity to be not my first book, but one of my first few books to have a physical copy of it. I already started it. I'm only 2 chapters in, so just barely started. I'm a slow reader. I don't read very, very fast. I also listen to audiobooks because I have more time to multitask when I listen to audiobooks. I usually listen to audiobooks when I'm cooking or when I'm doing chores, cleaning. But for reading, I like to really take my time, slow down. And I like to read in English, so that's also, it's not my native language, so it takes me a little bit longer, but I really enjoy it. And I'm looking forward to finishing this book and growing my physical collection of books. And that concludes my acquisitions part. So if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. I will be posting more videos. I have some really exciting videos, hopefully exciting. Hopefully you find them exciting. Videos planned for the spring. So if you don't want to miss those videos, please subscribe to my channel. And I'm gonna leave you with some beautiful footage of the gorgeous city of Bath. Thanks for watching. Until next time. Bye.